Let's just find a comfortable seat for you today. If you're sitting in a chair, you're welcome to lean against the back of the chair, or you may find that it feels better to sit up away from that. We're going to start with eyes open today. So if you prefer to close your eyes, that's fine. But if you're able to keep your eyes open, let's give that a try. We're going to start by doing some figure eights with our eyes, or we might call them infinity symbols. So you know an infinity symbol is like a figure eight on its side, right? So to begin, we're going to be drawing figure eights or infinity symbols with our eyes. And you can watch me do one or two first in case it's confusing. So we'll start by looking up and to the right, and the head doesn't move at all. This is all the eyeballs. Then we look down and to the left. Then we look up and to the left, and down and to the right. Up to the right, down to the left, up to the left, and down to the right. So it's almost like with your eyes, you're drawing an infinity symbol or a figure eight, looking to the far corners. And then let's try that going the other way. So we look up to the right, down to the right, up to the left, and down to the left. All we're doing is giving our eyes a little bit of a break here from the short vision that we tend to spend a lot of time with and exercising our eyeballs. Now, you can continue to work with this if it's feeling good. Of course, if anything makes you feel dizzy or nauseous, we don't want to do it. But if you like now, you can add a little movement with your head. So imagine now that the nose is drawing an infinity sign or a figure eight. As you go side to side, the eyes can continue to look, but the chin and the neck move as well. And then we'll pause and go the other direction. Now you can make this as big as feels comfortable for you. Remember, if anything isn't quite right or you start to feel any pain, then we'll just pause or change the movement until it feels right for you. Let's do another cycle or two here, finding that figure eight, that infinity sign with the neck and the head. And then when you feel ready, bring it back to stillness. Let yourself pause and just take a breath or two here. See what you can notice. Maybe the eyes want to close for a moment and rest after that work. And now we're going to add on a little bit. So we're going to rest the eyes and the head and work with the hand. So I'm going to move back to my chair here, back up a little bit so you can see where we're going. Pick a hand, you can use either hand. And now we're going to draw an infinity sign or a sideways figure eight with one hand. Now you may find that right away you want to make that movement bigger, or you may feel like today you want to go really small, maybe just one finger. It's good and it's different to do it lots of different ways. So you might start small and then get a little bigger, maybe the wrist. Maybe now you put a little more elbow into it. And maybe even the shoulder gets involved. Good. That's it. You can be really creative and kind of artsy with this if you want to. Make it as big as you like. It can swoop like a butterfly, or it could flutter like a bat. And then let's switch hands. So when you're ready, we'll pick up another hand and go the other way. So infinity sign with the other arm, or maybe it's a finger, maybe it's a wrist, or the elbow or the shoulder. If you follow it with your eyes, that can be really good too for the brain. But if you find that it doesn't feel good to do that, just find somewhere else to look with your eyes as your arm moves. Let's try going the other way. Imagine it swooping like an airplane, or maybe you might imagine, what would it be like if my arm were underwater, like there were a little resistance? And that sort of changes the feel of it for me when I do that. We'll go another time or two like this. And then when you feel ready from here, I'm going to invite you just to pause, rest the hands. If you want to close your eyes, you can do that, and just see if you can start to notice any sensation or any feeling in the body this morning. So now we're just going to do a little check-in and see what we're starting with. So we've had a little movement already, and we'll continue to move, of course, but we're just taking a little picture here and seeing, how am I today? As you stay here for a breath or two, just want you to see what you can notice, even if you don't notice much. Let's take one more breath in and out here. And then I want to invite you to ask yourself, how would I like to feel today? What would I like to sort of accomplish with my yoga practice? And now we're setting an intention. So you know how you're feeling today, but how would you like to feel at the end of our time together? In Sanskrit, the language of yoga, the word for intention is called sankalpa. So you could say that you're setting a sankalpa here, if you like. If it feels right to you to bring the hands to the heart, you could do that. Some people like that. Or to layer one hand over the other at the space of the heart, or you can just let the hands rest naturally. Take a moment or two, if you like, to connect to any personal meaning that you want to bring to your time with your yoga practice today. And then we'll take one more breath in and out here. Good. All right, let's move a little bit more. If you're seated on the floor, you can change the position of your legs at any time. If you're seated in a chair with me, you may want to scoot forward a little bit for this next part. So I'll turn a little bit so you can see. I've got some space now between myself and the back of the chair. I'm sort of sitting right on the edge. I'm going to walk my feet a little further. You might try that too. And now we're moving in a big circle with our torso. So we did this last month, and we had an excellent question here, which was, do I keep my abdominal muscles engaged? Do I kind of hold my tummy tight here, or do I let them be soft? So let's start today by letting the belly be a little bit soft here as you go around, and just see how that feels. And then do a circle or two where you're holding your abdominal muscles in a little bit and see how that feels. Now, if one or the other feels better for you, that's going to be what I suggest for you today, because there's value to doing them both ways. Good. When you're ready, or you hit a likely point to do it, well, switch and circle the other direction, going around in that circle. Sometimes, because we started with those infinity symbols, these circles feel kind of easy almost. We're getting a little more movement into the body. Let's bring our circles to a pause, and now we're going to do a little bit of a cat and cow spine. So you could do this from hands and knees as well, or you can do it seated, and I'll show it in the chair. We start by bringing the belly and the chest forward. You're arching your lower back and upper back just a little bit. And then we round, curling backwards so the back reaches toward the back of the chair or the wall behind you. Bring the belly and the chest forward. And if you like, you could even look up a little bit here. Maybe the shoulders pull back. And then we round, maybe tucking the chin and looking down toward the floor. Do a few cycles here, bringing the belly forward. Maybe there's a little stretch across the front of the chest. And then curling back. Now you can play with putting breath and movement together here. So that would look like this. As you come forward, we'll take an inhale. As you come back, we breathe out. Inhale, the belly and chest move forward. Exhaling, the belly and the chest move back. Let's take one or two more of these, remembering that you can rest or change the movement anytime you need to. And then the next time that you come forward, we'll pause here for a moment and see if your body wants to shake out a little bit. I'm just going to shake out my hands and my shoulders a little bit. We're preparing to move into a twist. So I've got a little option for you with the legs. This may or may not work. I'm going to show you in the chair, and then I'll show you if you're seated on the floor what it would look like. So if you're in the chair and it works, we're going to cross your left leg over the right. So one knee is on top of another. If they don't come very close together, that's okay too, but we're just trying to get the thigh on top. If that doesn't feel good, then you just keep the legs beside one another. Then we're lifting up, almost as though you're trying to reach your head toward the ceiling. We take a little turn to the left, and we twist here. The hand comes to the outside of the leg, and then maybe you look over the shoulder. Now, if you were doing this on the floor, this is a pose called Ardha Matsyendrasana. You would start with 2 legs and step 1 foot over the other leg, and then you turn around that leg to look to the side. If you find as you're twisting that your belly or your chest kind of gets in the way of the leg, you might need to lean back and kind of move the flesh of your belly or the flesh of your body around a little bit in order to feel comfortable here. Let's check and see how the shoulders and the neck are feeling. See if there's any sensation of tension there. And can you allow the shoulders just to soften away from the ears a little bit? Let's take one more breath here, in and out. And then we'll come back through the center. Let's uncross the leg if you had it crossed, and we'll change. Right knee now crosses over the left if that feels okay. Then we lift up, take a turn to the right. And depending on your chair, you may have something to grab onto back there. I'm holding the back of my chair. Then my other arm sort of holds on to the outer leg. So I'm using my legs as a little bit of leverage. Check in and see that your lower back feels okay with this. Can you allow yourself to kind of be a little relaxed here with it? So we're not pushing or pulling too tightly, but just letting yourself kind of soften into the position. If it feels okay, you could look over the shoulder. Or if that feels like it's a little more than your neck needs today, you might just look in the same direction that your chest is facing, or you could look down at the floor. Once again, I'll ask you just to see what's going on with your shoulders. If they're lifting up towards your ears, could you invite them to soften away from the ears a little bit? And then we're coming back through to center. Okay, uncross the leg if you had it crossed, and see if there's any movement the body wants to take here, maybe shimmying the shoulders around a little bit, or shaking out the hands, or shaking the head, yes or no. We're moving into some chair salutations. So these are half sun salutations. We can do the same thing standing if you want to, that's up to you. Follow the same instructions. In your chair, it starts like this. We take the arms up overhead, just as high as feels comfortable for you. Then the hands slide through the center of the heart as we fold forward. Now you can go over the legs, or you can go between the legs, walking the feet wider, whatever feels best for your body this morning. Let's bring the fingers to the shins now and lift the chest. So almost a little back bend in the upper back, like you're lifting up from the heart. Then we round forward, just like we did in our cat pose earlier. Let the head drop. To stand back up, or to bring the arms back up, we lift the arms as the chest comes up. Rising like the sun, the arms reach as high as you're comfortable overhead and slide through the heart. Let's do that 2 more times. Arms reach overhead. I really love these in the chair. They feel really nice to my body. And we fold forward. Now your pace might be different from mine, so take whatever time you need. The fingers come to the shins or the knees, and we do a little lift here. So this is a little work for the upper back. And then we fold forward and round again. Arms reach overhead as you lift your torso. Maybe you look up at the hands if that feels okay. And then we slide the hands back to the heart. Let's pause for a moment here. If you set an intention at the beginning of the practice, this is a nice time to check in with the intention or to be reminded of it. And then we do our last half salutation here. Arms lift and bow forward. Lift your chest, a little back bend here in the upper back. And then we round forward. Back up with the torso as the arms come overhead. And then the hands slide through the space of the heart. And we'll just pause one more moment here. Either the hands are at the heart, or you can rest the hands on the legs. Let's just check back in and see, how's my body? How am I? One more breath here. And then hands release if they were at the heart. Okay, I'm going to move into some warrior poses. You can do these seated or standing, that's up to you. So we've done these before. The first one we're going to do is our warrior 2. So for warrior two, we'll start by stepping your right foot wide and turning the right toes out. And then the left leg is a little bit straighter. So this is what it looks like in a chair, and depending on the arms of your chair and your body, it might look different. If you're standing, it looks much the same, except that you're not resting your hips on anything. It's a little more work in the legs for sure. So wherever you are, warrior two, now we can add the arms and reach them out to the sides. Take a look out over your right fingertips here. As we stay and breathe for a moment or two, see if you can feel as though your arms are reaching out evenly away from the chest. And then if you have a good sense of being able to feel your legs here, see if you can feel your feet pushing into the floor a little bit. Even if you're in a chair, there's that feeling of connection with the ground. And now I'm going to invite you to move the arms with me, whether you're seated or standing. The arms come down first. And then we reach the arms out to the sides. Maybe they circle overhead. You could look up if you like, if that feels okay. Then the hands come down and circle. Maybe they cross in front of you. And we open them back up and reach. So we've got 3 more times with the arms if you want to explore this movement. Sometimes we call this flying warrior. It's another way to bring some movement and a different kind of awareness into our yoga practice. As you're moving your arms, the invitation is, can I still feel my arms and my legs? If that's something you're able to feel, can I still feel them? Can I still notice that I'm breathing? Can I be aware of anything else that's coming up in the body? Let's take one more cycle, just reaching the arms overhead as high as feels comfortable. And then we'll settle back into that warrior two with the reach of the arms. Pause here, 1 breath in and out. And then let the hands release. Step the feet in, whether you're standing or seated, it might feel good just to shake out the legs, shake out the shoulders a little bit. Here's our second side of the warrior pose. So when you're ready, left foot turns to the left, the right leg goes straighter. Depending on the chair or your leg, it may have to be a little bent. That's no big deal. When you have that base, let's pause and feel the feet, feel the legs, feel that grounding, feel the hips if they're supported. Then add the arms. So we have these 2 sort of opposing forces. There's the grounding and the settling in the lower half of the body, and the sense of reaching through the upper body, the sense of being a little lighter maybe. Now, if you want to add the movement, you can explore that with me, or it might feel better just to rest here and explore yourself in a more static way. We'll start by dropping the arms down. Maybe they cross and you get a little momentum to swing the arms back up. As always, you have the option to look up or to keep your gaze in one place. Float the arms. You can get a little bit of rhythm here if you like, up and down. And if you are crossing the arms in front, you could try seeing, can I cross the opposite arm in front every time? It takes a little more mental focus. Along the way, we're seeing, can I still feel my connection to the earth, to the feet, to the legs, to the hips, as I feel this movement of the arms through the air, if I'm moving the arms. As we take this last one, I want to see, can you notice that you're breathing? Can you be aware of the breath if that's something that feels okay in your body? And then we'll let the arms reach out to the sides again. Pause in the warrior two pose. 1 complete breath in and out. And then float the arms back down. Let's walk them in, shake out the shoulders, shake out the arms, shake out the legs if they want to shake out. Take a little pause here for a tree pose. This time I'm going to break my rule and show you the standing variation first. So you can't see my head, but you don't need to. So if you wanted to stand for your balance pose, you might use a chair, and then you would take 1 foot to 1 leg. So we might start with just the heel right here, and maybe the toes are even touching the floor. As you feel more confident, maybe the hand starts to come away from the chair and we practice balancing here. So this is one way to do tree pose. I'll show you a seated tree pose now. For seated tree pose, we'll cross the left ankle over the right leg, if that works in your body. And then we reach the arms overhead here. If the arms overhead feels like more than your body needs, then you can have the hands at the heart. So that's really up to you. We've done a lot of work already with the arms. If it's not feeling so good to have the leg crossed over the other leg, like I'm showing here, we can always have the foot on the floor or the toes tucked behind. So we're still getting a stretch through that thigh. Let's take one more breath in this side of our tree pose. And then let the arms come down if they're up, uncross the leg if it's crossed. And then feel, if you can, the 2 feet on the floor, the 2 hands on the legs, pause and breathe. Tree pose is a great way to bring some focus into our practice. So as you set up for your second side, whether you're seated or standing, see if you can bring the same amount of curious attention to the experience that we've been playing with all along. If you're able to cross the ankle over the thigh comfortably, great. Otherwise, we can do toes behind the heel and the knee drops to the side, or any other leg position. Again, we could have the hands at the heart, or if it's feeling good to reach the arms overhead, you're welcome to do that too. Now, find something to gaze at in front of you. It doesn't need to be something pretty. It could just be like a spot on the floor. And see if you can allow your awareness just to rest on that. So we're not thinking so much now about the body. We're not thinking so much about balancing in the body. But at the same time, can you still feel that you're breathing? As you stay here for another breath or two, just awareness of the breath and whatever your gaze is looking at, whatever your eyes can see in front of you. Last breath in here. And then the exhale lands the arms down. If the leg is crossed, we uncross it. Whether you're standing or seated, ask yourself, is there any movement I need here? Do I want to kind of shake it out or move around a little bit? We've got one more standing pose to do, or one more warrior pose to do. And that's going to be warrior one today. So we're going to do warrior one with an arm variation that we've done before. Starting with our left leg, the left toes turn to the left knee points to the left, and then the right leg straightens a little bit more. I'm sitting right on the corner of my chair to make this happen. And then the torso turns toward that left leg. So I'm turning my whole body to the left. It's a little bit different than our warrior two, where the body was turned forward. Now, as you do this, here's what it would look like in the standing position. It's the same thing. We're going to take the arms in front of us and we'll cross the right arm on top of the left. Walk it over as far as it comfortably can, and then walk the fingers around to the shoulders so we're stretching into the back. If it works in your body, there's a few people who are watching who may feel comfortable doing this. You can grab the arms. This is pretty complicated, but if your body will allow it, this is called eagle arms. Or you're doing this nice variation where we're really focusing on the stretch between the shoulder blades. Either one is good for me. Now, again, the left knee is bent. The torso is turning toward the knee. There's that stretch through the back of the shoulders and a little bit of a lift through the spine. Let's take 2 complete breaths wherever you are. Warrior one with eagle arms. And then release. As you come back around through the center, pause and feel for a moment. We had our body a little bit tied up in a pretzel shape, and now we've untied it. See if you can notice how that feels. Notice if there's a feeling in the body with that. Let's make our way toward the second side. Turning the other toes out, stepping the other leg wide. I may have said left on the last side when I meant right, but we're doing both sides. So hopefully you understood enough to move forward. And even if you did the other leg, that's okay because we're doing them both. Here we are, turning toward our front leg with the knee bent, adding the arms. Now, the opposite arm is going to go on top. So this time it might be your right arm that crosses over. We're walking around to the backs of the shoulders, or if your body can comfortably grab on, maybe it's just your fingers grab the wrist or the thumb, that's okay. Or don't fight with your body too much over this. Nobody wins when we fight with the body. Stretch into the backs of the shoulders, and we'll take a few breaths here. There's that lift through the chest, returning toward the bent leg. And just like we did in Warrior Two, we're still feeling that contact with the earth, that contact with the chair, if we're using the chair for support. One complete breath in and out here. And then we're back through to center, unwind the arms. Okay. We're doing a side bend here. Let me back up a little bit so you get a little more view of my arms. This can be done standing or seated. If you're doing it standing, the other arm's just going to drop down the side of the leg. So let's start by letting your left, let's call this your right hand, grab onto the edge of the chair, or it slips down toward the floor. With the left arm, we're stretching up and over here. So it might feel good to hold on to the chair and get a little leverage, or it might feel good just to let the arm sort of drape away from the ear as we stretch. It's up to you. As we're doing this, see if you can let your ear drop towards your shoulder. This is a variation on the pose called standing half moon stretch. So Ardha Chandrasana. So we're trying to arc our spine just like the side of the full moon. Let's come back up through center. Pause, see if you can notice a difference between the two sides of the body. Maybe one feels a little longer. And then we're into the other side. Your left hand comes down, holds on to the chair or slips down the side of the body. And now the right arm reaches up and over. Your left ear drops toward the shoulder a little bit, and we're breathing here. As you stay and breathe here, see if there's any more sensation that you're able to access comfortably in that side of the body. If there's any discomfort or pain, then we change it so it feels better. One more breath in and out here into that side bend. And then we're back to our neutral position. Let's close out this part of the sequence with a little bit of a back bend. This can be done seated in the chair or standing. If you're standing, you're going to do the exact same thing, except maybe you'll just keep the hands at the heart. So we're all going to start with the hands at the heart for this one. If you're sitting in a chair and you're able to scoot forward comfortably, let's go for that. The hands come to the heart. And now I want you to find a little engagement through the belly. So you're going to pull up and in a little bit through the belly. Thanks, Missy, take care. And then see if you can roll the shoulders back a little like you're leaning over a beach ball. So again, you're lifting up through the low belly. The tailbone drops down and you're lifting the chest a little bit. If you're in a chair, you can still have the support of the chair under the hips here. And if you're standing, we're pressing the feet into the floor as our anchoring point. Only going as far as feels comfortable for you. If there's any strain or any feeling of being crunchy in the lower back, then we want to back away from that. Let's come back up through the center. Let the hands rest for a moment and pause and breathe. And we're going to do that one 2 more times. So if you're standing and you liked having the hands at the heart, you could stay there. If you want to try something a little bit different, this time you could explore taking the hands to the waist or to the hips. If you're in a chair, as I'm showing here, again, you could do hands at the heart, hands at the waist, or maybe you reach back and hold on to the chair now, giving a little bit of an assist. Wherever you are, engage the lower abdominals, almost like you're wearing suspenders and you pull them up. Think about dropping the tailbone down. We want to keep the lower back from doing too much work. Then curl your upper back backward. Imagine if you've seen somebody going back over a high jump bar. Imagine that you're going back over that bar. We want to see if we can find that feeling of extension or back bending in the spine, not just at the lower back, but in the back of the heart. right where the backs of the shoulder blades are. If it would feel comfortable in your body to lift the chin a little or to look up, some folks will feel okay to drop the head back, but if there's any question, if that feels at all uncertain, I really recommend just keeping the chin neutral or even looking down here. Last breath in this standing camel or seated camel. And then we come back through to center. Whew. Now we've got one more of those to do if your body feels okay with it. Before we do that, it might feel good to move around a little. I'm just going to shift a little side to side. For the final one of these, I really want you to pay attention to what your body's telling you right now. If this is a movement that we don't do too often, so it can feel pretty intense. Sometimes it can feel like a lot, and we don't want to sort of jump into the deep end of the pool with these. We want to take it really, really lightly, one step at a time, and see how the body's feeling. So if your body's saying, I think I've had enough of that movement for today, then you're just going to rest. If you want to do one more, we have the same options, the hands at the heart, hands at the waist, hands at the chair, and then the tailbone drops down and the chest lifts. Focus this round on pulling the shoulder blades together and down, so there's some broadness across the heart as well. If it feels good to allow yourself to lift the chest a little bit more, curl back a little bit more, that's okay. But you may find in your body that you don't need much of this, like a little bit goes a long way. We'll take one more breath in and out here in this little back bend. And then we're back to center again. Okay, if you've been standing, make your way down to a seat. And then we're going to do a little bit of a twist to each side to counteract that. If you enjoyed the first twist that we did where we crossed the leg, you're welcome to repeat that. That gives a little stretch for the outer hip. Or for this round, you might keep the legs straight. If you're sitting on the floor, you can have your legs crossed or straight, whatever you prefer. Let's reach the arms overhead. Feel the length in the spine that we've cultivated, that we've worked on the whole class. And then we're going to take a twist to our left first. As you go to the left, really let yourself ease in. The work that we've done today has been to open the sides of the body, to stretch into the sides of the body, and to allow ourselves to feel a little bit more comfortable in the twist. But that doesn't mean we need to sort of pull or yank our way in there. Let yourself ease in. And then as you stay for a few breaths, see if you can allow your body to settle. Feel that the hips are a little heavy. Maybe you feel that the belly softens a little bit, if that feels okay. And then see if the body can turn a little bit more, if that feels okay. Gently allowing yourself to revolve around the spine. You may feel that now at the end of our practice or toward the end of the practice, the body's able to go a little further. Or you may find that you've got some other wisdom in your body now that you need to pay attention to. Sometimes one of the gifts of this practice is just noticing what feels good and what doesn't feel good, so we get better at paying attention to what our body says. Let's come back around through the center. Breathe in and out. And then here's that little twist to the right. If you were crossing the legs, now your other leg goes on top. Lift the chest and turn a little bit at first. Easing in, easing in. Shoulder blades softly falling away from the ears. Hips are a little heavy. And then seeing in your body, do I want to go a little further? Does it feel good to gently pull myself in here? As you're breathing and twisting, see if there's anything you can notice about how your body's feeling in the moment. We'll do one last breath in and out here. Really good. Let's come back around the center. And now I want to invite you just to pause and check in one more time. We've done a lot of work in just 40 minutes. We're not quite done, but we've done quite a bit of work already. See if there's anything that you can notice. Does your body feel a little different than when we first turned on our Zoom call? The last thing that we'll do together here is going to be a forward fold. So I'll show you 2 or 3 different ways to do it in your chair so you can pick what's best for you. If you're seated on the floor, you might have your legs straight, you might have your legs bent, they could be wide or they could be together. If you're in the chair with me, let's start with seated child's pose. So that looks like this. I've got my hands resting on my knees, and now I'm going to start to round the spine forward. I'm trying to curl forward. Maybe then the elbows come to the knees and the chin drops to the chest. So this is a seated child's pose that might feel good. You could stay here, or you could explore letting yourself drop a little further down, maybe over the legs. So now my head drops toward the floor a little bit, if that feels okay. And the arms are dangling toward the floor. You could even hug the arms around the legs or hold the backs of the legs if you can reach them. For some of us, that might feel a little tight or uncomfortable, or it might pinch at the hip. So the last variation I'll show you for today is with the legs a little bit wider. So now I'm coming forward between the two legs. Now in my body, I'm able to bring my fingertips to the floor, but if I weren't, I could drop my elbows to the knees and hang here. So actually, I'm going to stay here. I like the way this feels for my body today. Take a few breaths, and if you find that you've already been in your forward fold long enough and you want to try a different variation, you can do that. Or it might feel a little bit good here to sway or lean side to side as I'm showing. I'm just doing a little lean side to side, swaying my body. Let's take one more breath here. And then come all the way back up to your seat. See if there's anything in your body that needs to be attended to, any little stretch or movement that your body's asking for. We're going to move into a seated meditation in just a moment. But first, I want to return to our earlier work with the infinity symbols and just see what our experience is with that. So pick a hand, whatever hand you like. And one more time, we're going to make those sideways figure eights. You could start with just a finger. It could be very small. And maybe then you progress to your wrist turning. And maybe the elbow and maybe the shoulder. So at the end of our practice now, what's different for you as you return to this movement that we did earlier? Do you feel maybe a little more relaxed about it? Do you feel a little more connected to the movement? It feels a little more natural or easy? Does your body feel like it moves a little more easily? Let's try the other direction, same arm, other direction. Maybe you feel like your arm is tired now. I feel some of the work that we did in my shoulders. And if that's the case, then how could you move in a smaller or more subtle way that still felt interesting to you? Let's switch hands when you're ready. Pick up your other hand and figure eight whichever direction you're doing. And so this becomes a little bit of a meditation in itself too, where we're just bringing our awareness to how is my experience in this moment as I move? We often hear the word mindfulness, like we want to make our lives more mindful. We want to make our movement more mindful. All mindfulness means is being aware of what's happening. But when we add in movement, let's go the other way. When we add in movement, we also have an additional skill that we're using, and that's being able to use the information we find. So that means that if we find any pain or discomfort, we change it. That's skillful. If it means that if we find that we're thirsty, then we pause and get a drink of water, maybe. That's what makes movement mindful, not just awareness, but also skillful responsiveness. Let's let that hand rest again. And then let yourself get comfortable for our last few moments together. I've leaned against the back of my chair now for a little support. If you want to lie down on the floor, that's fine. And if you want to close your eyes, that's always okay. Let's start with the top of our head and do a little bit of a body scan here. You're welcome to follow along, or you can tune me out if you'd rather. Let's see if you can feel the top of your head. Notice any sensation there. See if you can notice anything around your forehead. You can even touch it if you need to. You can bring your fingers there around your eyes or the back of your skull, the back of your neck. Notice if there's any tension there or tightness, and see if you can invite it to start to dissolve or start to become a little more easeful. Allowing or inviting the back of the head and the forehead to relax a little bit more. Then bring your awareness to your jaw, maybe moving the jaw side to side a time or two. Noticing if there's any tightness or tension. If you're somebody who tends to grip a little bit there, maybe you drop your jaw and invite that to be a little softer. Let's do the same for the throat and the neck, the tops of the shoulders, and the upper back. As you breathe in, become aware of whatever you're experiencing in this area of your body. And then as you breathe out, you can just invite the tension to start to dissolve or fall away. Bring your awareness now to the arms, your hands. We did a lot of work with the shoulders and the arms. Notice if there's any feeling of gripping or tightness or like holding on with the hands, and see if you can invite that to soften or let go. Now awareness of the chest. And let's bring awareness of the belly and the lower back too. Sometimes we have a lot of tightness and tension here. This is an area where we tend to grip. We have armoring that we do here to keep safe. So that's why it's an invitation. You can ask yourself, would it be okay to let go a little bit there? And if it's not okay, then your body doesn't want to let go, then we just let it be. Sometimes just by bringing our awareness to this area, we start to soften, we start to relax it a little bit more, and that feels okay. You can see what happens for you. Now let your awareness drop to the region of your hips and the pelvis and the fronts of the legs and the backs of the legs, where we have so many heavy, dense muscles. Can you invite those muscles to get a little softer? You see if there's any tightness there that wants to think about letting go a little bit. And then we're down to the knees and the shins and the calves and even to the feet and the toes. Just seeing, is there anything there that wants to let go? You might even wiggle a little bit through the toes, just inviting freedom, inviting more ease there. Knowing that it's a possibility, even if you can't relax it today, just knowing that it's a possibility to explore. And now for the last few breaths, breathe through your whole body. Imagine that you could breathe as though your whole body were breathing. From the crown of your head down through the neck, the shoulders, the chest and the belly, hips and the legs to the feet, including the arms. Imagining that any tension we don't need is just draining away toward the earth. And as you breathe in, we're taking in new energy, whatever it is that you need, whatever it is that feels healing or nurturing or helpful for you and your body today. We'll take a final breath or two here to conclude the practice. And then if you like, maybe right where you are, it might feel good to bring the hands back to the heart or to put one hand over another at the space of the heart. Remember the intention that you set for yourself at the beginning, if you set one. And now, if you like, you might set an intention for the rest of your day or for whatever comes next for you. We'll take one complete breath in and out. And then the eyes can open. And that concludes our practice for today.